Growing up in Queens, life for LL Cool J wasn't easy. Rap music provided him with the kind of outlet he needed, but his success in the music business threatened to ruin his personal relationships, including his romance with a woman named Simone Johnson. After dealing with countless groupies, losing his financial stability, and eventually gaining it all back, Simone turned out to be the one thing he really needed in order to turn his life around. Here's the truth about their love story. James Todd Smith was born in 1968, and just a few years after his birth, his world came crashing down when his father shot his mother and his grandfather. It was 4-year-old James who found them lying on the floor. They both were able to recover, and he told Oprah's Next Chapter that his mom eventually forgave his dad, but she moved on and began dating a man named Roscoe. He told the Chicago Tribune, Roscoe would frequently use household items and his fists to punish him whenever he did something wrong. The issues he was experiencing at home transitioned into more problems for him outside of the home. He told the newspaper he began picking on other kids at school, but eventually, rap music saved his life. He began writing rhymes at the age of 11 and eventually adopted the moniker LL Cool J, which stands for Ladies Love Cool James. By the time he was 16, he became the first artist on Russell Simmons' Def Jam label, and his album Radio hit platinum status. He went from being a regular high school student to wearing gold chains, selling out packed venues, and having a ton of cash at his disposal. And it was true, the ladies really loved him.
It's just like that jet going through the sky over there, you know what I'm saying? We want to be way up there chilling, up high, and then the girls will come through.
He told the Chicago Tribune that while on tour, he and his crew would yell out the word Maine, which was their code word for freak. After every show, there were women waiting for him backstage. He'd point to a couple of them, and they would follow him back to his hotel. Every night, the women were different, but one thing remained the same. The Chicago Tribune reported LL kept his hat on during each escapade. He could have any woman he wanted, but in 1987, he met one girl who would change his life. He was 19 at the time when he was driving down the block in his mother's car. He told Jimmy Kimmel he stopped the car to say hello to a friend. The friend asked him, "Hey, you want to meet my cousin?" At first, the hip-hop star told his friend he had somewhere else he needed to go. But after he caught a glimpse of his cousin, he changed his mind. He said, "I looked over and said, 'Oh yeah, I'll meet your cousin.'" The girl was 17-year-old Simone Johnson, and she and LL became an item. She wrote on her website that when they first started dating, he gifted her with a pair of earrings, and it was a day she would never forget. After dating for a year, Simone got pregnant. She gave birth to their son in September 1989. Becoming a dad was difficult for LL. He told the Chicago Tribune that parenthood freaked him out. He and Simone were arguing all the time, and the newspaper reported they were occasionally trading blows. It became too much for him to handle, and he wasn't finished having fun and exploring his other options, so he left. LL told Oprah's Next Chapter that at the age of 20, his testosterone was raging, and according to his biography entitled I Make My Own Rules, he went back on the road and hooked up with a pregnant fan. The encounter was followed by a low point in his life, and he finally realized his wild behavior had taken a sick turn. In a book entitled I Rise, The Transformation of Toni Newman, a transgender woman aired out a bunch of different celebrities, including Mr. C, Eddie Murphy, and LL Cool J. In her book, she claimed LL was aware she was born a male, but he allegedly paid her $500 for her services. The rapper denied the allegations through a statement released by his manager. And it wasn't just his love life that was causing issues. LL admitted in his biography he battled with substance abuse issues as well. He and Simone reunited. She got pregnant again, and in January 1991, she gave birth to their daughter, Italia. The Chicago Tribune reports the relationship still wasn't on the right track, so LL left Simone once again. He began a relationship with Quincy Jones' daughter, Kadada. While his career was booming, his personal life was in chaos. He He told the Chicago Tribune he was sitting in his hotel room in his underwear, munching on crab cakes, when Satan paid him a visit. LL said, "He came to me wanting me to sell my soul." The rapper said he couldn't really see him, but the evil force held him down and told him, "You can be whatever you want to be, but you have to say yes." He told the newspaper that he answered no, and after that, his entire life went into a downward spiral. His best friend betrayed him, his accountants took his money, and his dad mismanaged his finances. Despite getting hit with a $2 million tax bill from the IRS, LL said he couldn't stop spending money, and he purchased 12 cars and countless pieces of jewelry, pushing him further and further into debt. He began sleeping with a Bible underneath his pillow and relied on his belief in God. He fired his dad and hired a new manager, and then things began to turn around for him. He decided it was time to work things out with Simone. This time, he would stay with her for good. When Extra TV asked him how he proposed, LL said he picked her up in his Porsche and drove at a high rate of speed until she finally said yes. In 1995, after 8 years of dating, they got married, and that same year they welcomed their third child, Samaria. It was supposed to be a happy time for them, but LL's bad habits almost destroyed everything. Simone told Oprah Winfrey that shortly after getting married, he showed her the music video for the song Doin' It. Simone was appalled by what she saw, which included a woman licking her new husband's face. Simone said she didn't speak to him for 2 weeks. Her reaction made him realize there needed to be some limitations in his career, and ever since that day, he has respected her and toned things down. A year after celebrating their wedding, LL told the New York Daily News he finally had his priorities in order. The flashy cars were gone, and he preferred to drive around Beverly Hills in his black Honda Accord instead. The endless amount of women were a thing of the past, and he no longer had a taste for expensive designer clothing. He said he was much more comfortable in plain jeans, sneakers, and a hat. He said, "When I think about buying a car or something, I call my broker and invest it instead. I split the money 3 ways for each of my kids." He was content with his life as a husband and a father, and said, "Getting married was one of the easiest things I've done." For any fans who thought they'd still have a chance with him, LL made it clear in the song Candy that Simone was his one and only. Released on his 2000 album Phenomenon, LL raps, "You're like candy, the world's sweetest friend. You taste better now than you did back then." Their 4th child, Nina, was born in 2000, and 4 years later, the Smith family would go through one of their biggest hurdles. In 2004, Simone was working out with a personal trainer when she accidentally walked into a trash can and it hit against a little knot on the back of her leg. Curious as to what the mass was on her body, she went to her doctor and was diagnosed with stage 3 bone cancer. She was scheduled for a 15-hour surgery where doctors would remove her right tibia and replace it with her left fibula, a steel rod, screws, nails, and microveins from her other leg. Simone told Aspire TV she overheard her husband asking the doctor if they could use his fibula bone instead, since it was bigger than Simone's and he thought it would be stronger. Because there was the possibility that LL's DNA could be rejected by Simone's body, the doctor told him it wasn't a good idea. Simone was brought to tears as she listened to her husband's heart-wrenching pleas. The surgery was a success, and LL became very protective of his wife as she recovered. Before any visitors would greet Simone, he asked them to refrain from crying and to only give Simone their positive energy. Up next was a 2.5-year recovery. Simone went from using a wheelchair to 2 crutches to 1 crutch, and finally to using a cane. It took her years to learn how to walk again, and she admitted she was devastated during the entire process, but LL was her biggest supporter, and he didn't think twice about staying by her side. He told Oprah Winfrey, "You don't abandon someone in that foxhole." Simone is now cancer-free, and she decided to use her experience to help others. In 2011, she launched her own jewelry line with a portion of the proceeds going to fight the disease. She also launched the Beat Cancer Like a Boss campaign and collaborated on jewelry pieces with many of her famous friends, including Jordan Sparks, Remy Ma, and Mary J. Blige. Things were back on track for the Smiths. LL went to work on his 13th studio album, and Simone was keeping busy with her jewelry line when their world got flipped upside down once again. In 2012, the family was resting in their home in Sherman Oaks, California, when their security alarm went off at 1 a.m. LL jumped out of bed, ran downstairs, and came face to face with 56-year-old homeless man Jonathan Kirby. LL broke the man's nose, jaw, and ribs and restrained him until police arrived. The man was sent to the hospital to recover before being locked up on $1.1 million bail. That incident let the world know it was clear LL would do anything to protect his family. He credits mutual respect and knowing how someone wants to be loved as the keys to a happy marriage. And as for Simone, she told Oprah that putting God first and picking their battles have helped them maintain their special bond. She's convinced LL's wild days are behind him. They're both content with being parents and grandparents, and Simone described their marriage as awesome. LL admits he can be a slob, and it's not unusual for Simone to find a sock in their cookie jar. But she accepts him for who he is. Because of that, he told Good Housekeeping he does whatever it takes to make her happy. He loves to work out and stay in shape, and it's all for Simone. He said, "I want to be as attractive as I can for my partner for as long as I can." Let us know your thoughts on LL Cool J and Simone's marriage, and thanks for watching Real Reality Gossip.